Awesome. Well, welcome, ladies. So nice to have you guys here tonight to join us for our Ladies Hour. This is a super fun topic, and I'm excited to kind of go over some of this tonight. So we'll kind of jump right in. Our conversation tonight is totally encouraged. If you have questions, feel free to drop them into the chat or raise your hand. We'll kind of call on you as we go along, but we'll go ahead and start with a little introduction. And if you want to drop your name and where you're from in the chat, we can say hello and see where you're from. I'll kind of start with myself. My name is Colleen Payne. I'm the Public Information Specialist for the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish. I'm based out of the Las Cruces office. Tristana?
I am Tristana Bickford. I'm the department's communications director based out of Santa Fe. And I added to this week's introduction, if you guys will add in your top 3 things when you're preparing for a hunt. What are the top 3 things that you do to prepare? So let us know.
Awesome. And then we've got a special guest joining us tonight. This is kind of, I think, maybe one of our first ones that we've done from out of state. And Tana Granda joins us all the way from the great state of Alaska. And we'll kind of give her a little bio intro here in a little bit. But Tana's here with us tonight as well.
Hello, everybody. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And we're getting ready to jump into, the summer months. Everyone's looking for stuff to do outside. Temperatures are certainly warming up, especially here in Las Cruces. I think it was like 100 degrees here today. So people are starting to look for those fun activities to start doing outside, but we're also starting to plan out our ladies' social hours in the next few months. So if there's a topic or certain questions or something that you guys have that we can help you put on some of these social hours with, feel free to shoot us an email or drop it in the chat as well. So we make sure to kind of get some of those topics aligned at the right time. We've got some really cool topics that we're planning on. It's just a matter of when we get those scheduled. And if there's something a little bit more pressing, like elk season, coming up in September, we kind of want to get ready for that too. So we're going to talk tonight a little bit about how to prepare for hunting season now that, the fall is fast approaching. And we also kind of want to think about, well, if we didn't draw, what are our options? So obviously draw results are now out. We got them out a week early this year. So everyone was chomping at the bit to find out what they drew. Hopefully there was more green in your guys's customer accounts than red. I know Tristiana got red, got lucky with a couple green, but those are really good maybe examples. Maybe we'll use Tristiana and I of our plans of, okay, you got some green, you got a successful tag. What does that mean now? Starting, putting your hunt plan together, starting to scout for your hunts and making sure you're as prepared as possible for that hunt. Because the last thing that you want to do is go out on that hunt and tell yourself every day, man, I should have prepared more. Man, I was not ready for this. This is not what I expected. You want to kind of have a full, clear reality check and expectations going into that hunt. And Tana, so we've got about 12 big game species here in New Mexico that we can hunt. We've got everything from pronghorn to elk, coos deer, mountain lions, black bears, oryx, ibex, Barbary sheep. We've got all kinds of cool, fun species in New Mexico. So we've got, and they're all spread out across the state. So depending on the season, which it could be 100 degrees during your hunt versus, something that is going to be in the negative digits, that can certainly happen. So got a pretty wide range of that experience levels. So if you're unsuccessful, what are your options? What are you looking at doing? Because just because you got a red box doesn't mean your hunting season is over. There's still lots of options available for you across the state. And maybe you didn't even have a chance to apply. Maybe you missed the deadline, which a lot of folks did. And what are your options, even if you didn't get to put in for some of those draws? So we'll go ahead and start with our unsuccessful and did not apply. There are still going to be a lot of over-the-counter big game hunting opportunities for you to purchase a tag for. That includes bear, mountain lion, Barbary sheep, javelina, and fall turkey. Those are all over-the-counter licenses that you can come to a licensed vendor or log into your customer account and purchase those licenses. there's different seasons, but at least for mountain lion and Barbary, those over-the-counter tags are year-round. You can start going hunting now if you were that brave to go out into the heat and start looking for Barbary sheep. If you're chomping at the bit and ready to go out, there is hunting opportunities now for you to do that. Definitely keep an eye on the bear and mountain lion zone closures and quotas, because once those quotas hit in some of those zones, you won't be able to harvest an animal out of there. So keep an eye on those closures. You can find the link to those on our website, or the hotline number. I just saved the hotline number in my phone, to be honest, and I can call in and check and see what the status is, especially if I'm already out in the field. And I don't have that great of internet service, and I can get like one bar standing on one tree, standing on a log, just get enough service to call the hotline and check. And there's some other options here too that I didn't have listed, which include if you picked up a private land tag, which you could do for elk, deer, pronghorn, oryx even. So there's some private land opportunities out there for folks too. You just got to do a little bit of networking and visit with those folks and see what their access fees might look like. Upland game season is going to be right around the corner. Our rules and information booklet, I don't think is out yet on the upland game. I think that'll be the next few weeks, probably, Tristiana, on when that's going to come out. So you can take a look on the updated dates and apply for fall crane. If you wanted to hunt cranes later this fall, you can do that. Any sort of waterfowl will also be available later this year with that upland game booklet. So keep an eye out for that on season dates. Lots of fun opportunities there too for birds, and a totally different kind of aspect of hunting compared to big game. Coyotes and fur bearers are also a very fun thing to add to the bucket list of hunting for the fall. We can definitely use some predator management across the state. And so coyotes are a great option because you can hunt them year round with your general hunting license, practice some calling, different techniques for different behavior throughout the year. So they're always a fun challenge and something to go out and help elk and deer populations at the same time. And then, of course, now that it is nice and getting warm out, lots of people are going out fishing. The new license year started on April 1st. So if you need to get your fishing license, make sure to get that before you head out. You can do that. Any of the license vendors are on your customer account as well, but it's that time of year. Lots of people like to go out fishing, and we had a great seminar last month with Caitlin on the fishing, some warm water fishing tips and tricks. So I learned a ton from that. If anyone missed that ladies hour last month, you can go on to our YouTube channel and it's posted on there, and you can check out some warm water fishing tips, sorry. All right, so if you were successful in the big game draw, now's the time to start planning. Now's the time to start going and getting kind of a hunt plan together to begin scouting your hunt area. I don't know how many people I've seen through social media that have said, oh, hey, I drew a tag in unit 52 or whatever, and they've never been to unit 52. So now's the time to go to unit 52 before your hunt starts, or any unit that you might have drawn, and just get more familiar with the unit. Things definitely may have changed since the last time that you were there as far as access goes, especially now with all these forest fires also. But on that note, as you are scouting, we do have some forest closures that are going to be happening this week. Is that right, Tristiana? You might want to drop those dates in the chat. So the Santa Fe National Forest is going to have a full closure, and it looks like the Cibola and the Carson are expecting some closures later this week as well. So keep an eye out for those. That means full closure. You can't go in there and scout, and those are going to be closed until they deem it's safe for the public to go back in there. So definitely keep safety in mind as you are going out on your scouting trips. And if you can't get into some of those areas because of the closures, you can certainly do some e-scouting, looking at Google Earth, looking at different mapping software like Onyx or Basemap, are great options for you to start picking out some areas of where you might want to go in and find some animals, or put out some trail cams, something like that. Definitely the season and time of year in which you have your tag is important too. Keep in mind, if you have an early season hunt, what those animals are going to be doing early season compared to maybe late season, when it's maybe post rut, and they've kind of, I'm using elk as an example. Early season, they're going to be grouped up with other elk trying to find a mate. And once that breeding season's over, a lot of those bulls will kind of break off individually or form into bachelor herds. So just totally depends on the time of the year that you're going and what those animals' behavior is like, which is why it's important with the second one to, learn a little bit more about the species that you're after. Definitely understand their anatomy for better shot placement. Oryx are a lot differently built than elk or antelope. So you're going to want to make sure that your shot placement is appropriate. Understanding the different behavior, like I mentioned with pre and post rut behavior, and their habitat preference. If you drew an antelope tag, you're probably going to be looking more out into the flats, more open country where antelope can see, instead of up in alpine, rough canyon kind of country. Now is also a really good time to be going through your gear. You don't want to wait until the day before your hunt starts to be going through your pack and realize that you don't have certain equipment, or the equipment that you do have isn't in working condition. So this is a good time to test all of that equipment, make sure that your firearm or your archery equipment is sound and is hitting the target appropriately, and that you're getting good practice. You want to be able to, get comfortable with those weapons before you go out in the field too, to increase your confidence in using them. Also check for any safety issues they might have with them. Check all your arrows, make sure none of them are chipped or can crack as you shoot. And it's also a good reason and excuse, ladies, to acquire or upgrade your equipment. This is your permission slip from our call today, that you can upgrade your equipment this year. It's okay. And sometimes you got to learn the hard way of, man, I wish I would have spent the extra $100 and got the better rain gear or got the better boots. You would be a lot more comfortable in the field with the right equipment. So make sure that you're kind of taking care of yourself and taking care of your gear that'll help take care of you. One thing I wanted to mention too is maybe a gear swap. We've been creating these ladies hours for a long time now, and hopefully you guys have been able to link up, whether it's on social media or in person, and get to know each other outside of these ladies calls. And if you didn't draw any tags, but somebody did, now's a good time if you need to maybe test out some gear, or you've never been fishing before and somebody can loan you some fishing equipment. You can kind of do a gear swap with some of the people that you've got to meet on these calls maybe. So just kind of want to put that out there and see if there's something that might help you guys get some new gear. If you have questions on gear, we can do those in a future session as well. And one thing that we haven't really talked about a ton in the past, which is what I'm super excited to have Tana here with us tonight for, is really expanding more on taking care of ourselves while we're in the field. We talk about, doing all the things to make sure our hunt could be a success, but the success of a hunt really comes down to taking care of yourself and getting home safely too. So focusing on exercise and nutrition and mindset before your hunt starts, during your hunt, and after your hunt. So you're the most important tool to be able to make your hunt a success. So we want to help you do that. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker tonight. Her name's Tana Granda. She's the owner of Bristol Bay Fitness, based out of King Salmon, Alaska. She grew up in Idaho with a big family and lots of brothers, and married a pilot at what was the age of 18, I think? No, that wasn't 18. Married Adam, her wonderful husband, and has 6 fantastic children that are super adorable. I always love seeing the pictures on there. So Tana's been a dear friend of mine for the last couple of years, and thank God for social media, because we've been able to connect all this distance away. And she has a wealth of knowledge. an extreme hunter herself and has made a career out of helping other hunters be successful in taking care of their bodies. So Tana, I'll let you take the floor and teach us all the things tonight. I'm going to do a stop share and you can share yours.
Awesome. First of all, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, hey everybody, I'm super excited to be here. I am really open to questions and involving everybody in this. So feel free to put things in the chat as we go. I'm happy to kind of shift things as those on the call want to know specific questions. I know a few of you, I think mentioned, oh, where did my chat go? This is what happens with Zoom. Okay, I found it. I know some of you wanted to talk more about the physical prep of hunts and e-scouting. Is there anything else you guys really want to cover when it comes to prep of your hunts that you want me to cover specifically? Otherwise, I will just go for it. You guys still hear me?
Oh. We'll keep an eye on the chat, Tana. If we see something pop in.
Wanted to check that my sound was still on. For some reason, I do not like AirPods. I just realized. So just took them out. Not doing that. We're just going to go for it. Also, fair warning, I do have kids like coming off bus soon. So I've locked my door, but you may hear kids kind of running around. So, all right. So let's touch a little bit on just hunting preparation in general, the things that I like to teach and train clients on, and also train myself on, because I am a very avid hunter. Obviously, I don't live in an environment like you guys do that is very hot. I mean, I am in like tank shorts today. I'm sweating and it's 60 degrees out, and that's a hot day for here. So for where you guys are at, it's a lot hotter. So I want to make sure that I'm covering where you guys are at, specifically talking a lot about hydration and recovery and making sure that you're taking care of your body in a pretty hot environment. But that being said, I do love hunting. My life revolves around hunting. My training year round revolves around hunting. And I know that if I am not prepared physically and mentally, my hunts will suffer. So I want to go through just a couple of things that I feel are super important for every single person to know that puts boots on, puts a pack on, and goes out, whether it's for a couple hours or a day or a couple days or even a week. So again, if you've got questions along the way, just let me know. So I want you to think of this as your foundation. We'll talk kind of about the physical stuff first of your actual body and training your body, and then kind of talk about the other things like hydration and nutrition with it as well. So when it comes to taking care of your body, I want you to think of your feet as your absolute foundation. Obviously, they carry you around. You hike with your feet. If your feet hurt, if you get blisters, if you have feet problems, it's pretty hard to hike and get up and down a mountain or continue to go, right? So this is something that is neglected among a lot of people. We honestly don't even think about it sometimes. We think, okay, my legs are tired. I went on a long hike. I need to stretch my legs. Or, oh, my knee hurts. I'm just going to sit down. Or, oh, my hip's hurting or my back's hurting. I've had this pack on for a really long time. But what a lot of people don't connect is that our feet are the foundation to a lot of our pains within our body. I'm standing up because I like to talk with my hands and like demo stuff, but it's super important because if your feet get tight, then it will go up to your ankles and then you could roll ankle. If your ankles are messed up, then it's going to affect your knees. I even had a client last week that had tight calves and it was affecting her like mid back. And then she had a weak pelvic floor and it was affecting the way that her feet were hurting. So think of your body as literally a chain. And if one kink gets in that chain, the rest of the chain is not completely straight and working in the right amount or in the right way, right? So stretching your feet is super crucial. You can do this, oh, I should have brought mine, with any sort of ball. If you look at lacrosse ball or stretching ball on Amazon or eBay or anywhere, maybe even Walmart, you can find a pretty hard ball. You want it a little harder than a tennis ball, maybe even like a baseball, but these lacrosse balls that my coach JJ has here in this photo is perfect. And you can carry these in your pack. I've carried them on 7-day sheep hunts, and I stretch my feet at the end of every day, and it makes a huge difference in the way your knees feel and the way your hips feel and how you recover. Because again, those feet get tight, everything else up your body could go off, you know, from that and have pain in all areas of your body. So here's some different ways to do that. Just rolling out the arches of your feet, rolling your toes, the ball of your feet. These are all things that you can do pre-hike or hunt and post. A lot of people may have plantar fasciitis or like arches that have collapsed, or their big toe hurts, or the ball of their feet hurts. So your feet, again, super important, stretch them out. It's also important to pick the right kinds of shoes and boots that you are hiking in. So if you feel like you need to kind of work on your feet, you have a lot of foot pain, you can also do types of exercises that help with this. You can like try scrunching a towel with your toes. It's pretty hard. It's pretty tiring. You could even do it right now if you have like something close to you, a towel, or if you have a messy room like me, I have shirts on the floor, and just scrunch with your toes and see how difficult it is. You're strengthening all of those muscles in your feet to do what you need them to do when you're out on the mountain. You can kind of, if these are your feet, you can do toe taps like this, just sitting in a chair, in, out, in, out, in, out. That will also work your shins. So just doing these little types of exercises and rolling and stretching your feet can make a huge difference. When your knees hurt, when your hips hurt, when your back hurts, go to your feet first and then stretch your way up your body. Any questions on that? So overall, foot care tips is to make sure you have really good ankle support with your boots. You kind of have to find a boot that fits, you know, good for you. I personally use Loas. I've had those for 3 years. I've done a lot of big backcountry hunts with them, and they've worked really, really well. But they need to fit well. They need to feel good. I like to have a pretty stiff sole and a good tread so that you have a good solid foundation, again, for your hikes. Make sure you break in your boots beforehand. If you get brand new boots, super important that you're not buying boots like a week before your hunting season starts. So if you're going to be hunting this fall, maybe get some new boots now if you are in need of boots this year. Another important tip is to tie your boots while you're standing up. A lot of people sit down on a bench or sit down on a chair and they tie their boots like that. You don't get the full flexion. So if you were to completely just stand up, oh, maybe I just need a demo. I'll be doing demos here. If you were to stand up with your boot on like this and just flex your knee forward, that's the position you should be tying your boots in every single time, because that gives that full ankle support. You can get really tight around your ankle, and then you're kind of in that climbing position already, almost like a snowboarding boot if you've ever worn one of those. Trimming your toenails, another big tip that seems super common sense, but a lot of people don't do. And then when you're coming downhill, that can be really, really painful. So those are just some general foot care tips. As far as strengthening, we kind of talked about the exercises, scrunches. Walking outside with bare feet pre-season can also really strengthen your feet. So getting out in the grass or even in the gravel, like my kids can just run in the gravel with bare feet. It makes my feet hurt just looking at it. You can sort like your laundry or socks with your feet. You can do calf raises. These are all ways that you can strengthen your feet. As far as types of gear to use for your feet, I always have a liner sock and one pair of newer wool socks, not ones that are like almost breaking through with holes. It's good to I get new socks every season just because they're really, squishy and there's a lot of support there. And I'm not just wearing down on that sock and giving more friction to my skin for blisters. Where you're at, you probably get really sweaty feet. I mean, I do, and it's cold up here. So, it's probably a good idea for where you're at to bring some dry extra pairs of socks that you can switch out throughout the day, because as your feet get wet and damp and moist, easier to get blisters and your feet are just going to get torn up. So, and then if you have a higher arch like I do, you want to have a good insole or foot support inside your boot. Okay, any questions coming in so far? Let me see. I live in toe shoes. Yeah, even hunt with them. Okay, cool. that's intense. I would roll an ankle. But yeah, that's a great way too. Some of those natural or shoes that give you more of your natural foot shape in order to use your full foot, I think that's awesome, as long as you have good, strong ankles too. Okay, anything else here I missed?
That was the only one I saw.
Okay, perfect. So pack fit is another important one. I kind of go based on how it feels for me, but with a pack, you kind of want to look at how much weight are you going to be carrying. If you're going to be carrying less than 50 pounds, I think a pretty small day pack is probably plenty. I usually use a pack that I can carry 100 plus pounds in, because with a frame like this picture here, because I'm doing things like moose and brown bears and caribou and like really big game animals like elk would be a heavier pack. So find a pack that works for you. You're going to have different pack features. So you want to look at the frame. If it's a carbon fiber frame, there's just a little bit less support than an actual like aluminum frame like this. You want to feel the pack. So if you're close to a store, you want to find a new brand, get to that store, put the pack on, see what it feels like. But you want to make sure that when you are tightening that pack, you are putting the hip and waist belt like right above your hips. And if you've done this before, you've probably felt it before, but you want to make sure that you're not carrying all the weight on your shoulders. You want your hips and your pelvis to basically carry that load for you, so that you're not just feeling that pull on your shoulders and your back the entire time. So things to look and feel for when you put a pack on: is it weight bearing on the shoulders? Is it pulling? Is it like, oh, I have to be hunched over in order to hike with this? Are there hot spots on my hips because I have a belt or something in the way? So these are all things to kind of correct along the way before you just push through, get blisters, wear yourself out, and wreck your back, really. So you want, again, your hips to carry most of the load. When you fit the pack, you want to do the waist belt first, then the shoulder straps here, then attach the chest strap, tighten that, and then do the load lifters last. So these are the load lifters. And as you can see in this picture, you want that load lifter at about a 45-degree angle, just like that. And then you want a little bit of space, maybe like 1 to 2 fingers, kind of right between your strap and your shoulder. That shows that that weight is not just pulling on your shoulder. You're allowing your load lifters to do the work and your hips to do the work. That's why you tighten waist first, then shoulders, then chest, then load lifters. As far as weight distribution, it's really important to make sure that the majority of your weight is kind of in the center of your back here. If you are, loading up your pack and like when you're putting your pack on, if you put a brick, like a 50-pound brick in the bottom, it would pull you back and it would hurt. It would hurt your lower back. Opposite, if you were to put all the light stuff in the bottom of your pack and you put all the weight up here, it would pull you all around, right? So you want that majority of the heaviest, most dense weight right in the center of your back and load your pack that way. So I do lighter stuff on the bottom, heaviest stuff right in the middle, lighter stuff on top. That way it's all super close to my back, in the middle of my back. It's not pulling on my lower back. It's not pulling on my shoulders and making me feel out of balance. So any questions on packs or fits or anything like that? Okay. So dehydration, this is a big one and probably something that most people neglect, I would say. I will just say probably 90% of hunters and hikers don't stay well hydrated. So what to watch for? If you are starting to begin a dehydration stage, you are feeling thirsty. It's like if you are already thirsty, you're pretty much already on the verge of dehydration. You better be drinking water. When you get past that point, your body temperature rises. I'm not sure if any of you have had heat stroke before or heat exhaustion. I know I've definitely been there, but your heart rate's increasing and your body's just trying to make up to regulate its temperature. Water helps us regulate our temperature. We need it for nearly every cell in our body. This is a gallon right here. I'm clearly behind for the day. Just on a day-to-day basis, we need at least half of our body weight in pounds. So if I'm 150 pounds, I need at least 75 ounces of water a day. That's with like no walking, no exercising or anything like that. So I aim for like 100 ounces to a gallon a day because I'm a little bit more active. When you are in hot temperatures, and we'll talk about how much you're actually losing in hotter temperatures, you are truly setting your body up for losing a lot of water, a lot of electrolytes, but what are you replacing it with? Are you just kind of taking a water bottle and you're drinking that, or do you have a water bladder? You've got a water filter, you've got water sources along the way. I'm not sure if you have many areas where you can get water if you have to pack it all. Do you have streams and things like that down there? Or is it pretty hard to find water?
We do have some water where it's going to be a hot, dry year this year. So water is going to be a very limited resource. It's probably our most limited resource in the state. So for the most part, everyone is always carrying cases of water or jugs of water and stuff in their vehicles or additional ones in their pack. So I know we definitely do in our house, and it's something, you know, living in the desert, you don't go anywhere without.
Yes. Yeah. It's so crazy how just the difference in the area that we're at. I mean, Alaska, I can pretty much go anywhere and filter water, and I'll always carry at least 100 ounces on me no matter what, because I never know how far away that next source is. But I mean, you got to pack a lot of water if you're going somewhere for a while in order to stay hydrated. So that will kind of add into the rec training that you can do prior. But yeah, once you start feeling really hot and you're starting to feel a little drowsy, or maybe even your vision is getting a little blurred and you feel a little delirious, you are very dehydrated. Even beyond that, you can die. Like, water is so very important. This is just kind of a little visual on why you need enough water. It can do so many things for our body, but let's talk about how much is enough. So like I already said, just day to day, half of your body weight in ounces or 100 ounces is a pretty safe bet for most people. When you're training for really long duration activities, or you are in moderate temperature, oh, hang on, what? Yeah, just like, can I have a snack? Yes, go eat. When you're training for longer duration, or you're in really hot temperatures, you could be losing up to 1 liter per hour, or even a little bit beyond that. So think about that. If you lose 33 ounces an hour and you're out hiking in super hot temperatures, this is, let's see, 3 hours, I would lose this much, like this whole thing. That's a lot of water. That is a lot. And then along with that, you're sweating. So you're losing salt and all of those electrolytes that are in your body. So a couple ways that you can help prepare for that, just to get enough, is obviously pack your water, since you have to be prepared with that. Try to drink at least 16 ounces, but up to, 30 ounces an hour that you are hiking in hotter temperatures. And you can also do some salt bombs in the morning. And essentially what that is just putting like a teaspoon of salt in a big water bottle with some lemon if you want to flavor it a little bit, or you can add some other flavoring like those Mio flavorings or any kind of flavorings that you like. But what that does, that's giving your body a lot of salt. First thing, you can pack salty snacks, whether it's nuts, or you can actually take electrolyte powders like liquid IVs. I really like Wilderness Athlete. They have a hydrate and recover packets that are just awesome. And that's a really great way to recover, replenish your body with electrolytes, and keep you from getting really, really dehydrated and sick. I'm always a pro, always take a water bladder with you versus a water bottle in your pack, because you can constantly sip instead of having to stop and take your pack off and get your water bottle out every time you need to drink water. If you have that hose there that you can constantly sip on, especially in hotter places, you want that versus just a water bottle. And yeah, just making sure you're pushing the electrolytes a ton, because as you're sweating, you're losing a lot and you need to replenish that. It's also really needed for recovery. So if you're not drinking enough water and you're not replacing those electrolytes that you're losing, your body is not going to recover as well. You may be more sore. You may be more tired. You won't sleep as good. Your digestion will be off. So there are a lot of things that can happen just by not getting enough of this. So if you can focus on this as a really big priority, not only will your performance improve, but your overall recovery will improve. We're doing a rec challenge in our little coaching group right now. And I've had so many comments of people that just focus on their water, added electrolytes, and they said my energy and my performance was such just a night and day difference than when I didn't focus on that. So it seems like such a simple thing, common sense, but a lot of people still don't do it. So those are kind of my general hydration tips. Wilderness Athlete has so many different flavors and they're really, really good. Headaches are pretty common. So if you're starting to feel the headaches, low energy, feeling like you're crashing, really push that water and those electrolytes. Okay, now when it comes to training and like getting ready for your actual hunts, there are some different phases that you can go through. And obviously we're kind of a couple months out from hunting season. This isn't winter time, but I like to basically train in different phases. So in the winter time, there's not a lot going on. I'm doing more of strength phases, while in the spring and summer, I'm doing more of like an endurance phases and making sure that I'm really mobile and I'm really pushing the rucks and I'm mimicking my training just like it's going to be out on my hunts. So if I'm going on a lot of moose hunts this year, I want to be making sure I'm walking through swamp and tundra and have really heavy packs, versus if I'm doing a lot of sheep hunts or goat hunts or elk hunts, I want to make sure I'm going for like 5 to 10 milers with like a moderate load of maybe 50 pounds in higher country, higher elevation. So you want to mimic what your goals are with your training. So right now I would say if we're, 3 months out, focusing on putting a pack on your back, putting the weight in it that, feels right for you right now and building up to what you want your goal to be is probably the best way that you can train, just by mimicking it and doing it before you get out there. Pick some mountains, pick some trails, and load your pack up with water since you get to drink that water, and then lose weight along the way on your pack. Those are all great ways to focus on just building up that strength. But on the off season, making sure that you're building up your core, super important. Along with actual form of this, I always like to show people this because a lot of people don't recognize the muscles that they use. So when you are hiking, you may notice that if you hike for a really long time, your hip flexors get tight and they hurt. You may get knee pain. You may get back pain. So right now, I kind of want you to think of, if I am walking and I'm pushing off my heel, what muscles should be working to help me walk? Is it my quads, like the front of my legs? Is it my hip flexors? Is it my glutes? Is it my hamstrings? Is it my calves? Like, what muscles are working when we actually are just walking, or we have a pack on and we're hiking? Chat box, what muscles? Any guesses? Putting you on the spot. We actually need to be pushing with the backside of our body, our glutes and our hamstrings and our calves. And unfortunately, most of us these days, because we do a lot more sitting than we used to do, are really dominant in the front side of our bodies. We're hunched over looking at phones or computers. Our cores are weak because we're sitting down more. Our hips are always flexed, sitting or driving. Our quads are kind of dominant because we just learn to climb with them. We do not engage our glutes or our hamstrings enough. We just don't, and we don't use it enough. So when it comes to preparing for hikes, I want you to constantly think about pushing with your glutes, basically. So if you were to walk just regular, you don't really feel that, and then you were to walk, push, and like squeeze your butt cheeks every time you walk, you will feel a difference. A lot of times we get tight hips, tight knees, pain in our back. We are literally just not even using our glutes, our hamstrings, and the muscles that are kind of sleepy. So make sure you're walking, pushing through your heels as you're hiking, and constantly thinking of squeezing and using your backside to push, because if you're not pushing with your backside, what's happening? Your hip flexors are pulling you. And your hip flexors are the only things that are working to pull your body forward, because you're not using your big mover muscles. They're your biggest muscles in your body, your backside, and you're not using those muscles to propel you forward. So something has to. And that's where we see a ton of hip imbalances and knee issues and stuff, because your quads are doing all the work and your hip flexors are doing all the work. So train your glutes, train your hamstrings, and try not to use your quads with everything. Similar to if you were just do a squat, because when you're basically hiking or doing anything throughout the day, you are bending over, right? You're doing laundry, you're picking things up, you're doing lunges as you're climbing. We are picking up and using our back and our core. We are using all these muscles whether we realize it or not. So if you were to do just a regular squat down and up like this, or I'm picking up my laundry basket down and up, I don't really feel much. I feel it mostly in my quads. But if I focus on putting my weight in my heels and squeezing my backside, I feel it completely different when I do that squat. So your hikes are going to be the same way. As you get out there, as you hike, think of push with my glutes, push with my hamstrings, use my backside, push through my heels instead of my toes, and you will recognize a huge difference in the way that you feel afterwards, and your hip flexors won't take over. So I know that's like a lot, and this could be like a 6-month training itself, but I hope that makes sense as far as what movers you need to have to propel you forward. It's literally your backside, and your backside is the weakest part of your body. Most people. We are very dominant in the front, weak on the back. So if you can kind of warm up those muscles before you hike and kind of get them warm and activated and contracting and working, your hike is going to be a lot better. So you could do some glute bridges. You could do some basic squats, like I said, like pushing through your heels and squeezing at the top. You could take like a broomstick and just go back and forth like this to warm up your back. You could just put your arms up and do some just pull downs with nothing. You want to be activating the back side of your body so that it's pushing you forward and you don't have to pull with other things that are going to hurt you. Seriously, so much. Also with your core, one last thing on that. With your core, a lot of our cores are weak because our lower back is taken over. So you can feel the difference if I pelvic tilt my core and contract my core versus when I'm just standing. So think about when you have your pack on to kind of contract your core and make sure that you're using your core, because your core is the base of everything you do. You cannot move your body. You cannot reach. You cannot move if your core is not working. And your core is more than just your abs. Your core is your back. It's here. It's your glutes. It's this whole trunk of your body. So think about engaging your core as you're hiking, pushing through your heels to engage your glutes. It's going to be a game changer in your hikes. It truly will be, and you'll feel a lot better, and you will perform a lot better and be able to go faster too, because you're using big muscles, not ligaments, to pull you. How are we doing on time here?
We're doing great, Tana.
Okay, cool. Any questions on that physical stuff so far?
I haven't seen a question, but Stephanie said, wow, super helpful info. My
Sweet.
outer left hip is weak and gives me trouble during long hunts. Great tip.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, one more tip with that is if you were to do a step up straight up on a bench, or going up the stairs or going up a mountain, if your knee caves in, what's happening? Your hip is activating, your glutes turned off. So those muscles aren't working. I already feel it pulling on my hip. So make sure that as you're hiking, your knee stays over your toe, so you have really good form. You're pushing through your heel, squeezing your glutes. You can practice those step ups. You can practice them on anything. This is literally my bed. So yes, my office is in my bedroom till my husband builds me one. But you know what I mean? You can practice those step ups. They're really, really great for a warm up till you feel those glutes activating instead of your quads. If you're climbing on your toes, you're only using pretty much your calves and your quads. So you want to be climbing with your glutes primarily. Trekking poles. Trekking poles are another really good way to take some pressure off and to help your hike along. So I mostly take trekking poles now every time I hike because it helps with balance. It can save your knees and your joints a little bit, and it can help you with climbing and descending, coming downhill. So when you come downhill, you will feel it mostly in your quads though. So just take note of that. When you're coming downhill, your feet are flexed like this. So you cannot really engage your glutes when you're on your toes. So as you're coming downhill, those trekking poles can help save your knees a ton. And you don't want to like lock your knees out when you're coming downhill, because then you could blow a knee out. Make sure to keep your knees nice and soft as you're descending. As you're ascending, obviously, you're not going to be able to always plant your heel, because if it's a steep mountain, you know, you're going to be digging in with your toes. That's why I like having a boot with a really big sole and a good tread, because you can dig your toe into that mountain and climb that way. So there are times that obviously you're going to be using your toes, but the more that you can use your glutes, the better, the less your hips will hurt. And with knee pain, just making sure that you aren't like turning out or letting your knee turn in as you're climbing, that you're really focusing on like knee over toe, knee over toe, knee over toe. So hope that's helpful. Okay, nutrition. This is, again, such a huge topic. To kind of just do a general lesson on this, really, I want you to just think of 70 to 80% of your performance and your goals comes from your nutrition. So still, you know, that's kind of like a C if we think of it in grade terms. 30% is like your physical prep, so still very important. But your nutrition and your hydration is a big, huge piece of it. So together, you're going to do a really great job if you prepare and you plan for both of them. Another good analogy to think of this in just an easy way to understand is that your nutrition is kind of like $100 bills. So if you were to walk into a room of a bunch of $100 bills, how cool would it be just to like pick all of those up? I would love that. Versus if you were to walk in a room with a ton of pennies on the ground, yes, they will still add up. I will still pick those up, but you better believe that I'm going to be picking up the $100 bill room first before I go to the room of pennies. This is where a lot of people kind of fall short. And I will just say that just because it's not talked about a lot and it's not honed in on a lot, because a lot of people just kind of take what they can on their hunt, eat what they can, and just like suffer through. But it's truly amazing what can happen when you really focus on your nutrition and make it an important piece of it. So I always like to say nutrition is your $100 bills, workouts, physical prep, or like your pennies, still both important. I would love to have them both together, but you don't go very far with just your body physical condition without the nutrition piece to it. So I hope that that makes sense. You want to really make sure that you are eating enough before you go out. So even if you're going like on a little ruck or a hike, or you're training right now and you go on a hike this week, you want to make sure that you're not just going out with no food. Like, oh, I'm just going to go fasted, not even going to eat breakfast. I'm going to drink some coffee and I'm going to go. Because what happens is your body needs fuel to keep going, and you're burning a ton of calories with that kind of strenuous activity. You're in hot weather. Your body's trying to regulate its temperature. You're carrying maybe a bunch of water on your back, and maybe you're going up a mountain and going to higher elevation. So if you're doing that with no fuel in the tank, what's going to happen? Just like if you went to go drive your car and the tank was empty, wouldn't make it very far. Your body is the exact same way. So you need to be filling up the gas tank in order for your body to continue going and to not quit. I love the term unstoppable. That's kind of the theme of my training and my coaching, because I never want people to hit walls and have to turn around and have to quit. And nearly every time it's because either a mindset issue or a nutrition hydration issue. And or maybe 30% of it is that they didn't train and they waited 2 weeks before hunting season to go to the gym. Seen that too. I've done it also. That's why I can make fun of it. So you want to make sure that you are keeping all of these things as a priority if you really want to be successful and you want to push yourself to the next level, and you don't want to quit and you don't want to hit walls and back down. So when it comes to actual energy expenditure, which basically means how much are you burning, I would say if you can aim for 50 to 100 grams of carbs before a longer duration activity, you're in a pretty good spot. Then you need to continue eating carbs, so you can't just go hike for 8 hours and not eat anything, because your body is going to utilize a lot of that. It's basically using the gas in the tank, and pretty soon your needle's like almost empty. So you need to keep filling it up every time it gets close to empty. So how long does that take? Usually 30 to 60 grams of carbs an hour that your body's going to use based on your height, your weight, your body size. So a good rule of thumb is just to think of literally like a Cliff Bar. That would be the amount of carbs that you would burn in an hour of hiking. So, or a granola bar, or like 2 fruit snack pouches. So I'm trying to give some relation to what does that actually mean. If you, or that would be like an apple or a larger orange. So those are kinds of things that, like, that's how many carbs you need. But you could also drink those carbs. I use something called intra-workout carbs, and I don't even know if I can link it in the chat box, but it's called Carbolin, and this may be really good for a lot of you. It's basically just a powdered drink mix that you're drinking carbs along the way. So you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're hydrating your body, and it's got some electrolytes in it, I believe. And you're also giving your body that quick, fast energy, like filling up your tank, so you can just keep going without having to stop and eat every hour, eat all the time. I probably only eat every 3 to 4 hours when I'm hiking, but I'm drinking carbs like the entire time. So it's super important to focus on just carbohydrates, because carbohydrates are our preferred body's energy source. So 30 to 60 grams of carbs an hour, that's kind of the equivalent of what that looks like. A lot of us women tend to undereat, not eat a lot of carbs, or maybe we're afraid of carbs. But truly, it's a performance tool. So if you want to be like an athlete in the mountains, you've got to eat like an athlete in the mountains. And just by eating fats and protein, your body can digest it and use that as energy, but it won't as efficiently. So it would be like, I'm a pilot, so it would be the equivalent of me putting car gas in an airplane instead of ab gas. It's not as efficient. That's not what my engine prefers. So I hope that makes sense. Along with that, it's important to recognize that your body will make glucose, which comes from carbs. It will find energy if it needs to. So if you're not giving your body enough of the gas, yes, you might like quit and get tired, but if you have to continue going and you're not replenishing any fuel and your body's like out of fuel, what is it going to do? May burn fat. Great. That'd be awesome. But you may also burn muscle. Our body, unfortunately, likes to go to the most dense stuff first to get nutrients. So you may not even be burning just fat stores. You could be, but you could also be burning crucial muscle, which is very hard to build and very hard to maintain, especially for us females. So making sure that you're feeding your body so that your body isn't going to eat itself to feed itself. Very important. Again, it's those $100 bills versus pennies. So when it comes to meal timing, just kind of do what works for you, what feels good. Some people can't just eat and go hike. That's why I like that intra-workout carb, that Carbolin that I just put in my water, and it's 2 scoops is 100 grams of carbs. So I can fill my whole water bladder or something like this with that, and that's 100 grams of carbs. That'll last me for like 4 hours, and I'll feel really good, and I won't crash at all. So it's just important to recognize, and this is just a bunch of writing. You can screenshot and relayer if you want. But if you're burning several hundred calories per hour, you just want to make sure you're giving your body that so that it's not trying to make it from your muscle and your fat, but we don't want it to take muscle. No fun. Another training tip that you could do is doing intervals. So there's a lot of benefits with intervals, and especially when it comes to your mixed training right now, pre-season. The good thing about intervals is that you can do more work in a shorter amount of time. The bad news about intervals is that it is a big stressor on our body. Us females don't handle stress as well as guys do. So guys, men can often like go out and just, eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for the whole day and like run 20 miles and probably be okay. Us females, our bodies are going to start shutting down. Hormones are going to be like, nope, we're not going to reproduce anymore. We're going to like release all these other stress hormones, and then I'm going to make your body pay for this. So that's why it's crucial for us females, especially, to be careful about the stress we're putting on our body. So with intervals, I would say great to do them, good to do them once, maybe twice a week. Every single day is going to be shooting yourself in the foot. Not a good thing, not necessary. But if you do it once or twice a week where you're adding in some intervals, you're pushing yourself in your hike or in your workouts, you're doing some HIIT workouts, awesome. Do you need to, run intervals every single day and push yourself to 100%? No, because you're not going to be able to recover from that. And a really good workout is only one you can recover well from. So making sure that you're finding that balance between pushing your body, but also giving your body rest, because our bodies need to know that they're not stressed. Our bodies need to know that they're not in a famine and not getting enough food. Our bodies need to know that they don't have to completely shut everything down internally, our hormones, our digestion, and everything else that's important in order to just survive. So that's my little spiel on intervals. There are a lot of advantages to them because, again, it pushes your aerobic threshold. It pushes your lung capacity. It increases your metabolism. It can burn fat. It can use all the muscles in your body instead of some of them. But again, it may take longer to recover. You may injure yourself, and you may just put more stress on your body than you need. So I just kind of put in here a couple different types of training. Resistance training, obviously, like strength training stuff, weightlifting. You don't have to have a gym to do that. You can do it at home. Aerobic exercise is just cardio, hiking, walking, running, swimming, biking. And anaerobic is kind of like without oxygen. So that's something you can only do for short bursts. So that would be your intervals, your weightlifting, your sprinting, things like that. We kind of already talked a little bit about body care and pain. So making sure that you're warming up really well, making sure that you're cooling down, that you're stretching your feet. You can use trekking poles, making sure you're using your glutes and practicing those step ups. Here are a couple quick tips about body pains on the mountain specifically. You may want to screenshot this because this is really good info. But if your ribs are out, it may feel like sharp shooting pains. I've had this a couple times. I had it on my brown bear hunt, and I had put a 100-pound pack on my back, and I thought I was going to scream. I mean, it just hurts so bad. Turns out I just packed it out anyway. This was like 3 years ago. And my husband's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know. It just really hurts. I don't know what this is. I went to the chiropractor. I had 3 ribs out, and I was packing 100 pounds on my back with 3 ribs out. So that's where having that ball can be really crucial. You can actually roll your muscles like on a tree, or if you have hard ground, on that ball and kind of roll the muscle parts. You don't want to go on your spine or on the bony parts, but rolling out those muscly parts. And then you can actually feel as you're rolling where your ribs are kind of popping out, and you can roll them with that ball on a tree, and it can pop back in. But you want to kind of warm up the muscles around it by rolling it and stretching it out. If your hips are out on the mountain, you may have shooting pain, like sciatica. If you've ever had that, it's going up and down. That could be from weak glutes again, like from stepping up this way or not using your glutes. You're using your quads and your hip flexors. So you want to roll out the side of your leg here. You want to engage your glutes. So do some butt squeezes, some glute bridges, some step ups, those kinds of things to get your glutes to fire. Oftentimes pain isn't just from pain in that spot. It's from a weakness somewhere else. So kind of a cool analogy to use this. Here's some rubber bands. Okay. If I have one rubber band, this is my one muscle that hurts, say my hip, and it's super tight. By stretching that, is that going to help just the hip? If I just stretch the hip, will that help the hip? It just looks like it's going to get tighter, right? But if I work to strengthen and activate the muscles around it, I should have something hanging from this to actually show it. But if I put the same pressure on it, it shortens up. if I strengthen the muscles around that hip, it shortens even more and it brings pressure off that first muscle. Does that make sense? So tight muscle, we have to strengthen the muscles around it to loosen it. They all work in conjunction together. So activating your glutes, making them work. And then you can even like put some resistance, like where you put a pack into your knees and you're like pushing in like this, or same thing, pushing out. If you have someone hold your knees and you're laying on your back and you like try to activate those glutes by pushing your knees in and out against resistance. Feet issues, we kind of talked about that, rolling on the ball, stretching your calves. That's a big one. If your feet hurt, make sure you stretch your calves. Same thing with knee pain. You could even take your trekking pole and like roll it on your calf, or you can use it for your legs instead of having a foam roller. Like you can use the things that you have. And that's for, you know, knee pain, or you can use like a smooth stick if you don't have a trekking pole. And then lastly, your mindset. Super important. Your mind's a game changer. If you believe you can do it, you will. If you won't, you won't. And we all know that. But it's our most important tool. We have our body. We want to make sure that we're healthy and we're taking care of our body, and we're hydrating well, and we're feeding our body well. But if we have constant negative self-talk up here, every time something gets hard, you want to turn around and just be done, or oh, am I just there yet? You know, if you don't have that strong mindset to push past your barriers, you are self-destructing. You're putting limits on yourself. So a couple things that I do literally for hunting season is I will, in order to kind of rewire my brain and focus on my goals, I will write down what my hunt goals are for the year. So if I want to do an elk hunt this fall, I'm going to write down as if it already happened. You know, I kill a 380 bull in New Mexico. I write it down as if it already happened, and I write it down over and over and over every day if I can until hunting season. Last year I did this with my caribou and my moose. I was like, I'm going to kill a moose with my bow. It was a goal I had for a really long time. And I put, for some reason, I put record book. I was like, I haven't even seen a record book bull all year, but I'm going to kill a record book moose with my bow. And I wrote that down every single day. I went out and I killed a record book moose with my bow. So you are already scribing into your subconscious what you're going to do by writing it down. So write down your hunt goals. Turn your negative thoughts when you're hunting into something positive. I remember when I was trying to keep up with my brothers for a really long time as a young kid, being like 5'3", and my brothers were 6'4", I was so frustrated every time I was trying to keep up with them. I'm like, man, this just sucks. This hurts. My feet hurt. My legs hurt. When is this going to be over? They go so fast. You know, I used to be so negative up here. Hold on. Yes? Go downstairs. Oh my gosh, they're just knocking. Hang on just 1 second.
Tristana dropped a great question in the chat, ladies, of what are your hunt goals for 2022? I think we would love to hear some of yours. And Tana, I think they'd probably love to hear what some of your hunt goals for this year are too.
Yes. Yeah, do that. Let's talk about it. So yeah, I try to turn the negative into the positive and just, I can do this. One more step, one more ridge. Once I get to that tree, I'm going to see the beauty of what's beyond that. And instead of, man, this is just so hard. So writing down your goals, read them, say them out loud, write them down as if they already happened and you already did it, and then visualize it. Like there's a lot of power in visualization of picturing how it's going to go in your mind, how you want it to go, and truly just believing that you can absolutely do it. And this just kind of goes into, if you have a fixed mindset, you are holding yourself back, you're putting up barriers, challenges are hard, failure is just proof that you're not good enough, it's easy to give up, it's maybe like threatening it when you see other people be successful. But if you shift your mindset to a growth mindset of, I love challenges, I love being uncomfortable, I love to fail because I know I'm growing and I'm getting stronger. All the effort that you do with that is going to lead to success. And when you see other people's successes, that should inspire you that, wow, I can do that too. Or wow, I can go on that hunt that I never thought I could do. And so I'll just leave you with my literally favorite quote in the entire world. There's no growth in the comfort zone, and there's no comfort in the growth zone. So hunts should be uncomfortable because you're growing, you're learning, and you're constantly pushing yourself to be better. So I think that's kind of it. I was going to talk a little bit about elevation. If you guys have questions on this, we can definitely talk about it. I don't know what your elevation is there. I'm at sea level in Alaska. So there are some tips you can do for elevation. Do you guys have pretty high mountains there?
We do in places. Most of our elevation is going to be that 3,500 feet all the way up to 12,000 feet if you're doing a big sheep hunt or something. So, different parts of the state. That's what's really cool about New Mexico is we have everything from, grasslands and desert all the way up to alpine, high sagebrush desert. So we have a lot of really cool habitat types, which make all of us as hunters kind of have to train for those at different places. So I think all of this was super fantastic information, Tana. So ladies, we got a few minutes left. I know this is a great topic, so we're going to go a little bit, over on our time tonight. But if you have a question or something specific that you want to bring up with the group and ask Tana about, here's your chance to do it. You can either raise your hand or unmute yourself and start your video and visit with her as well. If you do have to jump off for whatever reason, definitely look up Bristol Bay Fitness and find Tana on Instagram or social medias, because her and her team are constantly showing and sharing information that definitely helps us out as hunters. So Tana, there was some kind of cool goals here in the chat of shooting an elk during the late season, tagging out on my first ibex hunt in October. Awesome sauce, Kira. And I assume with that October hunt is the archery hunt. And that's probably one of the hardest hunts in North America by far. Stephanie with a 6x6 healable with my bow and a sagebrush over my English setter. Man, that sounds like fun. One of my goals this year is to shoot a coos deer with my bow. That's going to be definitely bucket list, and fingers crossed he's still in the velvet. Gila monster with my bow, pack out with our mule string. So Gila monster of, I assume, an elk, not a lizard. Awesome, Amanda. There's some super cool goals in there.
So cool, man. I want to go down there.
You do. Come on down. We'll be happy to take you. Kara asked, any suggestion for comfortable snake boots or gaiters that are easy to hike in? I don't know if you know of any, Tana. We've got maybe a couple, but
I don't know the term snake boots.
yeah, you probably don't have much for snakes up there.
We don't have snakes.
So snake boots down here are pretty common actually in the South, Texas and Louisiana, Alabama, parts of New Mexico. But they're like just really tall, kind of almost knee-high boots that are really tough. So if a snake did strike your lower leg, it wouldn't be able to penetrate.
Yeah, cool.
I haven't necessarily used any, Kira, especially on the Floridas, but definitely in October, you're going to want to watch out for snakes on the mountain. As far as gaiters go, I don't know about you ladies, but I have gigantic calves. And so I've always struggled to find good gaiters. And I'm trying to think of the brand that I have off the top of my head. But they do make wide calf versions if you need them. but there's a bunch of other brands out there that are great. So I think really just having anything is recommended. I wouldn't have maybe a specific brand. I know the QU makes some really good, easy to put on gaiters that kind of slip over your boot and over your pants.
I wear gaiters, but they're for water, not for snakes.
Yeah, that's what's great about them too, is that they probably, because they're so water resistant, they might have hopefully that kind of snake proof. Yeah. The little tiny teeth proof ones too.
Ugh, that's scary. I'm not worried of snakes. I would be worried about tarantulas. I don't like spiders, so
we have those too.
I would not want to run into those.
The thing about where Kara is going is that everything on that mountain will try to kill you. Like
awesome.
A rough, rocky, addicting kind of place, special kind of place. So I wish you the best of luck on your hunt, Kara. That's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, keeping it uncomfortable. I like it.
Tana, what would you say, maybe as a closing note, if there isn't anybody else with questions, what would you say is maybe one of the biggest things you see people struggle with during their hunt?
Nutrition, for sure. Most people don't pack enough or pack enough of the right things. And it's just hard when you don't understand what's in your food and how your body operates on that food. Like, unless you track and you really understand how your body feels with different foods, if you just kind of eat to eat, it's really hard to know, okay, when I'm tripling my movement in the day, I can't eat the same as when I'm just sitting at home not doing anything. And that's what people do. They just kind of take what their usual is, and then they're crashing and getting tired and hitting walls, and then their body doesn't recover because they didn't have enough food. So that's the biggest thing. I see it with men and women alike.
Always fill up the tank, right? Like, just you don't want to put your car on empty, for sure.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other questions or anything they'd want to ask us or Miss Tana tonight? Stephanie, I see your camera is on. Do you have something for us?
Nope, not at all. Just wanted to show my face for everybody.
Well, we appreciate it. We always love seeing everybody's smiling faces.
But no, this was super great and helpful. I love the thing about the hips, man, because I tell you what, last year on my elk hunt, and I think Jennifer is on here too, she was with me, and we had to take a morning off because my left hip was just killing me. And so that was some great information. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think a little piece of gold that was definitely mentioned, but should be reiterated from my experience too, is definitely take one of those lacrosse balls. I actually bought one at a like used sporting good store for like $3. So I mean, they're cheap, they're easy, they're light. I throw it in my pack, and it is a lifesaver at camp. So maybe that's something that you guys can try out this year and see if it helps the feet and helps the joints, because you can roll out with them all over the place too. You don't have to take a huge foam roller or anything.
Yeah, I took one on my Kodiak hunt last fall, and it was just straight up and down every single day, goat hunting. And every day I'd come back, I'd roll my feet and I would roll out my T-bands and I would roll out my glutes. And man, it was insane, just the difference in how well recovered I was the next day. And I usually have really tight hips and hip flexors and knee pain if my muscles get too tight. And just by that, having that little ball on me was so worth it. Caribou
awesome.
Hunt. Hard
really want to go on a caribou hunt. How hard is it, Tana?
Caribou hunting itself isn't hard. Access is hard. So most places you go in Alaska, it's can you get in with an airplane? Once you're in the game-rich environment, they're pretty easy to hunt. Rifle-wise, archery is pretty tough because most of them go in herds and you can't call them or anything. So it's just spot and stock. and you have hundreds of eyes on you. So it's very hard to stalk in on a caribou unless it's kind of like a lone bull or something, which I actually had last year. But yeah, it's not hard. They're not hard animals to hunt. They're fun though. It's just access and getting there. Alaska is 90% logistics. So once you're in, you have everything figured out. It's just like hunting any other animal.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Tana has lots of info about Alaska. So lots of different options. And maybe that's another option that we didn't mention in the I drew or didn't drew section is, you can certainly look at different out of state options and different hunts that are available in other places. That is definitely worth looking into. And it's kind of cool to kind of expand your skills and your knowledge and learn something new about a different place or a different species. Obviously, we don't have caribou in New Mexico, which would be super rad if we did, but it's a whole new challenge of things. So, looking at other places is definitely an option if you are looking at making some additional plans for this fall, ladies. So awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tana, for joining us tonight. It was always a pleasure spending time with you. And I think we were able to learn a ton. This recording will be available on our New Mexico Department of Game and Fish YouTube channel. So any ladies that maybe missed it, if any of your friends weren't able to join us this evening, you can certainly share the link with them and share all the cool stuff that you learned tonight. So next month, we are nailing down some dates and topics, but we're looking at probably the 14th or the 21st of June. And like I mentioned earlier, we're still trying to get the right schedule, but it looks like it might be a predator hunting topic. So hopefully you'll be able to learn some things from some guest speakers on that one as well. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. And if you have any questions, you can always email us, reach out to us as well. So thanks, guys.